Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before I get started on today's video, please give this video a huge thumbs up and consider subscribing for more BMW and specifically E46 related content. And also please check out my Amazon affiliate link down below in the description. If you guys are going to purchase anything from Amazon, using that link helps me out. Now moving on to what this video is actually about, it's about coding force brake display or adaptive taillights. Now, if you guys do not know what that is, basically when you brake, if you brake heavy, the inner part of the light will light up and then it will light up more on the outer part of the light if you have LED taillights, or even if you don't, it will utilize the other bulbs that are in the taillights. If you look at the E46 taillights, there's a lot of bulbs inside of it and multiple ones for braking and the rear fog lights and stuff like that if you're in Europe. I believe stage 2, which I'm more interested in coding today, and that's kind of where it does the inner and then the outer. I believe that's standard in Europe. If any of my European subscribers could inform me if that is true, that's what I found on the forums, and I'd like to know if that's true. However, you can also code your E46 to blink taillights, and the third brake light will blink really fast when you activate ABS, so the person behind you knows that you're braking very hard, and for them to also pay attention and brake hard so they don't hit the back of your car, so which is pretty cool. So to code this feature, you will need NCS Expert, and I have a video on that, so that will be linked in the cards and down in the description. So if you check the cards above, you should see a video of how to set up NCS Expert, which you will need a specific cable. However, I've also seen you can actually use Carly to code force brake display. Now, I am going to use NCS Expert just because I know the values. Carly, I've looked at the values, and it just says values 1 to 5, and I don't know what that means. You can play around with it, but you kind of need someone behind you to, when you brake, see what the lights are actually doing, so you know if it's coded correctly. This is demonstrating stage 2 brake force display. I'm now going to show stage 3 force brake display. This is when your brakes will blink when ABS kicks in to alert the driver behind you you're braking heavily. Okay, so to actually code this feature, like I mentioned, you will need NCS Expert. If you guys do not have NCS Expert installed and don't know how to use it, I will link a video up in the cards as well as the description. So first things first, make sure your pins 7 and 8 are bridged on your adapter. Car's in position 2. We're going to fire up IMPA, make sure we have a connection to the car. Cable detected, ignition, yes. So we are going to have to code 2 modules for this. You're going to have to code the light control module and the cluster. So we're going to start with the light control module and then we're going to move to the cluster. So let's open up NCS Expert. And I'll tell you why, once we get to the coding portion of the cluster, why you need to code the cluster too. So NCS Expert, we're going to go File, Load Profile, RevTours NCS Expert Profile, OK. Then we're going to click Start, Chassis, E46, and then we're going to press A, K, and B. This is just where we're reading the VIN and vehicle order from. If your car is a 2001 and older, you're going to use EWS or K and B. It doesn't matter. Like I said, this is just a redundant backup. It reads, the information's on both. We're just reading it from one. And then up here, you should see your VIN pop up. And you should see your vehicle order. Okay, now we're going to press back. Then we're going to click Process ECU. We're going to click ALSC, and this is the light control module. Press OK. Press OK again. Then we're going to click Change Job. Right now, right here, it says SG Codeiron, which means write the data. We actually want to read the data. So we're going to change that to Coder Date and Lesson. Press OK. So now you see Coder Date and Lesson, and you see the light control module, the ALSC, and then we're going to click Execute Job, and you're going to see coding active, coding ended. And then we're going to minus NCS Expert. We're going to go to your C drive, then we're going to go NCS Expert without the T. Then we are going to go to the work file. And then first things first, before we start any modification, we are going to copy this file right here, fsw_psw.trace file. It should be the last modified file. And we are going to, I got to make a new folder for that real quick. This is very important. This is a backup, so if anything was to ever go wrong, you can just recode with this file. All right, there we go. So now that we're in this work folder, we're going to open up this file, the trace file. And you can put in NCS dummy. I just know everything by heart, so I've spent enough time trying to figure this out. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a find, and we're going to type in BFD, brake force display. And then we're going to click find next. And depending on what you want, if you want your car to just blink, if you want it to blink all the time whenever you decelerate, you would check this option, but we don't want that. I don't want that, so we're not going to check that. We do want to check right here, we want to check stage 2. So brake force display, this is using deceleration sensor 2, and this stands for force brake 2, or stage 2. So we do want stage 2 where the inner part will light up when we brake, and when we brake a little harder, the outer part will also light up. So we want that. So I changed that from niche active to active. And then we also have these pins. So depending on what, I'll put a diagram on which pins that you need to bridge. Sometimes, depending on your light modules, you may not need to do this. I needed to do it for my LED taillights, and I think it's because my car didn't come with LED taillights, so this wasn't active on my LCM. I had to activate a certain pin number, and I will link the diagram down below that you may need. Basically, it has the pins for what lights would light up with stage 2. When you see the diagram, it will make more sense, but you may not need to touch it, so I wouldn't touch any of these pins for now. We are also going to change this to active instead of niche active. And the reason why, this parameter basically says use force brake display with the third mount brake light and the actual brake lights. If you just want the third light to blink, leave this niche active. If you want all of them to blink, change that to active. If you'd like stage 3 to kick in with your ABS, change this parameter to active, which is BFD underscore ABS underscore STUFE. So basically it says ABS with stage 3. Yes. Then you're going to see all these timers. You're going to see any value that says BFD and it has vert underscore 01. Leave that. Do not change that. That is the timing. You don't want to change any of that. So there's another one. There's BFD underscore blink EINZEIT. Leave that as 1. Then we want to leave this one, AUSZEIT. We want to leave that as 1. Guys, I will also link all these parameters down in the description in case you cannot follow along, because it is a little confusing. Again, if you want stage 3, when you slow down, you will change this to active. I do not. I only want it when ABS kicks in. This is basically saying use deceleration sensor 2 for stage 3, so we don't want that. So obviously we leave that as not active or niche active. Again, these are pins for these are pins to be bridged to allow for brake force display. So certain taillights use different pins for the taillights in the inner or outer. And again, I'll put a picture in this video and in the description so you can see what I'm talking about for different pins. I had to have pins 38 and 20 for my LED taillights because that's the outer LED taillight. All right, so now we're gonna press next again. Next, like I said, so leave BFD minus GES, leave that to 1, leave this one at 1, leave this one, this max EIN, leave that at 1. Oops, I think I missed. Yep, so there we go. So leave the max EIN at 1. Now this is for stage 2 using the deceleration sensor 1, which is weird. I know they're in different parts of the file, but you want to change this to active if you want stage 2. And if you want stage 2 to come on with ABS, you can change this to active, which I do not want. Leave FD underscore STUFE2 underscore timer, leave that at 1. Leave this timer at 1. Again, these are pins depending on which taillights you have for the inner and outer part of forced brake display for stage 2. So there's these, and this was, if you had LED taillights, this is the one that I had to change to active. So pin 38 underscore 20 BFD, I need to change that to active to allow for forced brake display stage 2. Shouldn't matter for stage 3 because that's just the inner parts of the light. This is only for stage 2. Now, this is the last one that can be modified. This is for forced brake display too. You do not need it because this is just for the LED. This is just for the rear fog lights to be forced brake display. And obviously the coupes do not have rear fog lights there. So you'd have to wire that in if you wanted them, or I think in Europe it's standard so you could enable that. So that's everything for the LCM. I should note my LCM is a software version 3.6. So if you have any questions, if you're lower, maybe you might be missing settings, I do have 3.6. If you guys need more help with this, you can send me your file, we can look at it, or you may have to actually upgrade your LCM. So with all that being said, once you have all those parameters set, you're going to click save. Sorry, you're going to click save as. And this time you're going to change this, the save as file type, to all files, and you're going to type the file extension for this. You're going to type in .man, and then you're going to click save. Now basically when NCS Expert goes to write this new file, it's going to look for a man file, so that's why you convert it to a man file. So now we're going to click save, and you're going to say it already exists. Do you want to replace it? You're going to click yes. We can exit this out now, go back to NCS Expert. You shouldn't have closed out of it, and you're going to click change job, and you're going to click SG Codieren, which means write the code. So you're going to say ALSZ, job name, SG Codieren, and you're going to press execute job, which is F3. I'm not going to press it because I already have what I want coded. And once you press execute job, you can then cycle the ignition on and off. And then we'll reconnect to NCS Expert, and we will code the cluster next. Okay, so we're now back in NCS Expert. I'm going to load up my profile real quick. Let it connect to the car again. This was after we cycled the ignition on and off. And then we're going to click Start, Chassis. We're going to pick our chassis, which is in E46. AKMB we're going to read. Just going to find the VIN. We're going to click back. We're going to click process ECU, and this time we are going to click AKMB. AKMB, we're going to press OK. We're going to press OK. I should mention mine is a 006 AKMB. We're going to again change the job. Right now it's set to read the code. We want to write the code, so coder date in lesson. Press OK. So we see the module, it's the cluster, and we see the job. So now we're going to press execute. Coding active. Coding ended. So now it's very important, as I mentioned earlier, to take a backup of that trace file, because now when we go back to NCS Expert, it actually overwrites that trace file. So we're going to go C drive, NCS Expert without the T, work. Now this file will be populated with stuff from the cluster. So we're going to do another copy, and I'm going to paste it again. I'm going to paste it there. Okay, so now I have backups of both the cluster and the light control module before we started. But now we're going to open up this trace file, and you will see that there are different parameters in it. So what we're going to do, we're going to go File, and we are just going to double check that there is nothing to do with forced brake display that is labeled forced brake display, because some might be different. If you see something for forced brake display in your cluster, you should change it. It might say BFD underscore on. You will need to change that. But basically, why do we need to code the cluster too? Well, you need to code the cluster so it knows the car is slowing down for it to enable the stage 2. I don't think you need it for stage 3, but again, better safe than sorry to enable these parameters. It's not going to hurt anything. These are the parameters that you need to change. They're at the bottom of your cluster file. So you need to change FVG underscore VERZOEGERUNG. You need to change that from niche active to active like this. And guys, keep in mind, remember these spacings should be exact. If you use NCS Expert, you should probably know this. Now we're going to change this variable too. It is ASC underscore reg underscore off underscore KBus. Change that from niche active to active. Then these two are actually for the speed. So these ones we definitely need. It's Gren Javert. I'm saying these so wrong. And then it's VERZ underscore SCHWELLE. Change that to active. And lastly, change this to active. HYSTERESE underscore VERZOEGERUNG. Change that to active. So these 4 parameters are the parameters that need to be changed inside of the instrument cluster, and you need to write these back to the car, and this will allow the car to know that it's slowing down, and it's connected obviously to the light control module, and this will send the signal to the light control module saying, hey, I'm slowing down, using those sensors parameters that we programmed in NCS Expert. So that is what we did there. If you guys have a different cluster, you may have different options to do with force brake display, and you may need to enable them. It might be BFD underscore on, I think I've seen. So that's something you may need to look out for if it's not working. However, with that being said, we're now going to do a save as. We're going to change to all files. We're going to change to .man, all capital, and we are going to press save. And it's going to say, do you want to replace? You're going to click yes. You're going to exit that out. Go back to NCS Expert. You're going to do a change job. We're going to do SG Coderant. We're going to press OK. We're going to click execute job. And you guys are going to hear an awful noise in the cluster. And it's just the needles. It's really not that bad. But you're going to have to reset your clock because it does reset the cluster. But not a big deal. This is what you need to do to enable force brake display. And guys, it's awesome. I really like force brake display. I will show you guys a clip in this video showing how it works. But that is all to code this function. It's really not that bad. Again, I would, when you're done with NCS Expert, back out of it, close it out, and cycle the ignition. So if you guys have any questions with coding, drop them in a comment down below. I do have a video on how to code your BMW using NCS Expert, basically from start to finish, super easy. I will link the exact cable I use that I swear by in the description. Bought it on Amazon. Pins 7 and 8 are already bridged, which you need to connect to the K-Bus in the E46. So with that being said, that is how you code the car. All right, everyone, you guys saw how you can code force brake display, or otherwise known as adaptive taillights, on your BMW E46. You see a lot of newer BMWs doing this. I wanted to do it on the E46. I knew it was possible. It doesn't matter if you have LED taillights or standard taillights, it's possible on all of them. It may take a little playing around with some of those force brake settings that you saw me add. These are what worked for me, so test this out. If you just want the adaptive brakes where it does the inner part and then the outer part on deceleration of the taillight, that is stage 2. Stage 1 is off and stage 3 is blinking. So that's all I have for today's video. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments below. If you guys need more information, follow my Instagram. It is at Evan Goyak, and I will be able to help more if you guys just send me a DM. Also, give this video a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and use my Amazon affiliate link as I mentioned. It helps me out a ton. That is all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.